Hello and welcome to GED Live at Phuket PALS with teacher Alex for another GED science lesson on organization of life. If you find these lessons helpful, please don't hesitate to contact us. The contact details are down here on the slide. Let's get started with the topic. First of all, let's have a look at all the different levels of organization, starting from a single atom. The different levels of organization go from the atom over a molecule, over so-called cell organelles, and the cell. This is where we will have mainly a look at today. Starting from here, this is where life science starts, biology starts, the cell as the living thing. From cell we go over tissues to organ systems, to the organism as a single individual, and then we see populations as groups and ecological communities and ecosystems, biomes, and a biosphere. In this screencast, we will only have a look at the first 7 or 8 levels of organization, and we will keep the others for an upcoming lesson. Okay, let's dive in and have a look at the first level. The atom. An atom is the smallest unit into which matter can be divided that has still the characteristics and properties of a chemical element. So most of the atom, if we look at it, is empty space. Even that model here doesn't show it very well. The nucleus at the center of an atom is positively charged and made up of protons and neutrons, and surrounded is the nucleus by a cloud of negatively charged electrons. Electrons are attracted to any positive charge by their electric force in an atom. Electric forces bind the electrons to the nucleus, so they whiz around the nucleus and are attracted to it. The nucleus at the center of the atom is tiny, tiny, tiny compared to the remaining size of the atom, and most of the atom is empty space. All right, let's go to the next level. The next level are molecules. Molecules are groups of 2 or more atoms chemically bonded together that form the smallest indefinable unit into which a pure substance can be divided, and still keeps the composition and chemical properties of that substance. So that sounds quite complex. A molecule is a group of 2 or more atoms that are chemically bonded together. And when atoms are chemically bonded together, they form a new substance. And the smallest amount of that substance you can have is a single molecule of that substance. Molecules can be represented in many, many different ways in chemistry and science in general. And here we see some possible representations of different molecules. For example, the Lewis structure of methane. Here we see how the atoms are bonded together. 1 carbon atom bonded to 4 different hydrogen atoms. Here we see the same model, just in a different way represented, more 3-dimensional as a ball and stick model. Here we see the representation, more a biochemical representation of a glucose molecule, and other chemical structures representing molecules. Okay, the next level is the cell organelle. A cell organelle we find inside a cell, like an animal cell, for example. And a cell organelle is any of the specialized and compartmentalized structures within a cell that performs a specific function. For example, the mitochondria or the endoplasmic reticulum or chloroplasts. Organelles in a unicellular organisms are the equivalent of organs in multicellular organisms. The contractile vacuole of protozoans, for example, extracts fluid waste from the cell and eliminates them from the organism. That does the kidney in a larger organism like the human. All right, let's look at the cell. The basic membrane-bound unit that contains the fundamental molecules of life and of which all living things are composed. Every living thing is made of cells. So the cell theory states, that's what I already said, the cell is the fundamental unit and structure of living things. All organisms are made of one or more cells. Cells arise only from other cells through cellular division. That means that anything that is alive, any living thing, is made of one or more cells. And cells can only come from other cells. So this is the level of organization where biology basically starts. Now, biology is the study of life, of living things. And we start with cells. Here we see some different types of cells that you will learn about more in the GED science course. We see bacterial cells that are much more simple than cells of an animal or a plant, which we can see here. And we can see that the animal and plant cells, they have many more structures to them. They have so-called cell organelles, which we've just learned about before, the specialized structures and compartmentalized structures inside a cell. So structures that have their own membrane, so we can have special chemical environments inside them so that they can do certain functions under perfect conditions. Okay, cells is a completely different topic, again, which we will investigate in a future lesson. The fifth level are tissues. Tissues we find only in multicellular organisms, so organisms that are made of more than one cell. And a tissue is a group of structurally and functionally similar cells that work together to carry out a specific function. For example, animal tissues are grouped into 4 basic types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue, where the epithelial tissues are formed by cells that cover the organ surfaces, such as the surface of our skin, or the airways, or the inner lining of the digestive tract, or the inner lining of our blood vessels. Any skin that we have outside or inside of our body is usually formed by an epithelial tissue. Connective tissues give shape to our organs and holds them in place. Blood, bone, tendons and ligaments, adipose, these are all connective tissues and give shape to our body and all have their own special function. Muscle tissue functions to produce force and cause motion, either locomotion to move our body or motion within our internal organs, like our digestive tract, the intestines, to push the food forward, or the heart beating all our life. Cells comprising the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system are classified as nervous or neural tissue. So one more time, a tissue is a group of structurally and functionally similar cells, so specialized cells that already have a special job, and they work together to carry out a specific function. Now, to form a barrier like an epithel, like skin, the skin can't be formed by a single cell. So that single cell doesn't have that property of a skin. So we need many, many cells to work together to be able to get that function of a barrier. Next level are the organs. Organs are a group of tissues in a living organisms that have been adapted and work together to perform a specific function. So again, we have now a group of tissues working together that, by working together, have a new specific function to perform. A single tissue would not be able to perform the function of an organ. Take the heart, for example, as an example. Heart has muscle tissue. Well, something needs to tell the muscle tissue to contract and relax. A muscle can't decide that on its own. So who tells the muscle to relax or contract? Nervous tissue. So by having these different types of tissues together, we get new functions, as in the heart, that is able to pump the blood around our body. Here are some more examples. The liver, for example, the stomach, the pancreas, our intestines, the lungs, the kidneys, our reproductive system, and many more. The next level are organ systems. Here again, we have an organ system as a group of organs that work together as a biological system to perform one or more body functions. In the more advanced animals, there are usually 10 organ systems, including the integumentary, skeletal, muscular, nervous, endocrine, digestive, respiratory, circulatory, excretory, and reproductive system. These systems, again, are a group of organs that work together to perform that specific body function. Take the digestive system, for example, that involves many organs. They all work together so that we are able to break down our food and absorb the nutrients into our body so it can be delivered by the circulatory system, the heart and our blood vessels, to the different cells so that they get their nutrients. That's where we will stop. I think that was enough information. Going on from the organism, from the individual, over the next levels of organization to the biosphere, we will look at in a different lesson. So let's have a look at some questions together. All right, first thing, can you recall the different levels of organization? I'll give you some time to think about that. If you're not sure about all of them yet, if you want to think a little bit longer, please pause the video now. Otherwise, we can go over it together. First, we have the atom. Second, we have the molecules. Third, we have the cell organelles. Level 4, that should be easy, is the cell. Then we have the tissue, the organ system, the organism. And what we didn't look at yet is the population, the community, the ecosystem, the biome, and the biosphere. All right, next question. Which series of terms is listed in order of increasing levels of organization? So one more time, that should be a bit easier. Please pause the video if you still have to think about your answer. The correct answer here is B. We go from cell to tissue to organ system. All right, next one. Which is a tissue and which is an organ? And we didn't talk about the specific parts here, but knowing the definition, we should be able to find the correct answer. Have a look. And if you still need to think, you can pause the video. The correct answer here is B again. The tissue, a group of palisade cells. We didn't learn yet what palisade cells are, but that is okay, because we have a group of similar cells that will work together to perform a specific function. Another tissue here would be a group of liver cells eventually. The brain is an organ, the reproductive system is an organ system. So we still have the choice between A and B here. If we look at the second part, what is an organ, I think all of you should by now know that the stomach is an organ. Xylem, we didn't learn about yet. Xylem is a plant tissue, not organ. A root is an organ as well of a plant. The liver is an organ as well. The two things that match here correctly, tissue and organ, are these two. So answer B is the correct answer. All right, up next. The diagram shows blood passing through an arteriole into a capillary. Part of the capillary wall has been cut away to show the blood. What is the level of organization of the structures labeled P and Q? So the easy one here, again, take your time. If you still need to think about the answer, pause the video now, otherwise we will continue. All right, so the easier part should be the label Q here. Label Q points to a red blood cell, and a red blood cell is a single cell which is on this level of organization, a cell. So it's either a or C the correct answer? Then we have here a group of cells. So the first intuition should probably be, because we have a group of cells, that's probably a tissue. But it is not a tissue. Can you tell why? Why is the group of cells that P summarizes not a tissue? The reason for that is because we have two different types of cells here. We have these elongated cells, which we can see here. These represent muscle cells. And we have these more round or square shaped cells. These cells are epithelial tissue. So we have a group of at least two tissues here working together to form a blood vessel. So the blood vessel itself is an organ. The correct answer here is A. All right, and last question. Can you define tissue? Write your answer down. Please pause the video and you will hear the answer now. A tissue is a group of structurally and functionally similar cells that work together to carry out a specific function. All right, that's all questions from me. Thank you very much for joining the lesson. This has been GED Science with Life at Phuket PALS and teacher Alex on the topic Organization of Life. If I could help you to improve and study for your GED, please consider contacting us if you need further help, or if you have any questions regarding the screencast, if you need anything else, don't hesitate to comment on that video as well. We will get back to you as soon as we can. Have a great day ahead. See you next time.